Right, this morning I hope you like the picture, by the way. It's very fitting, isn't it? Gilbert Dia Ministries. Sounds like a foreigner. Worship services. Liverpool. Let's see now. Come expecting restoration in your life. Well, this building didn't come to expect restoration in its life, did it? Eh? Oh, it hadn't got faith, that's what it is. It didn't have enough faith. No, it just didn't have a builder. Okay? You know, we live in the real world. These boys don't. These are minion tricksters, charlatans, quacks, selling the medicine. That false medicine of faith healing. Okay. The only healing that we need is of the soul. Anything else is lesser. And if it is in the mind of God to heal somebody of the body, they shall be healed. He will bring it about one way or the other in Jesus Christ. Let us not listen to the world out there when it refers to who is in control of every aspect of this world. According to this world, man is in charge. Yes. The whole world lieth in wickedness. Wickedness against God. And the neo-evangelicals, these boys here, the hyper-nominal Christians, because that's what neo-evangelicalism is, hyper-nominal Christianity. Let's not forget that nominal Christianity in the beginning had the law of God attached to it. Then, without, of course, the law of God being the schoolmaster, that's why they were nominal Christians, the schoolmaster to bring them unto Christ for justification, but at least they had the moral and ethical code, the law of God that they carried. Okay, but now, neo-evangelicalism has come. That's been thrown out. So you can tell lies, you see. You can tell lies. These boys here tell lies. Come expecting restoration in your life. Eh? Lies. Lies, 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 lies. From the father of lies. Now, I'd like to deal with the eschatological concept this morning of the rapture. Right. Now this belongs to Arminian neo-evangelicalism. It's their side, and it should not be our side. It belongs to the Arminian neo-evangelical. Right? That side that is on the broad road of destruction, as it follows our road, because it's next to our road. It's the wide road because it embraces wide opinions of everything. We, however, have one way, a narrow way. And people will say to us, you're narrow thinking. What's the problem? It means that we're not just tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine, with every sleight of man. So what's the problem? It means that if you are not narrow-minded, then you're the one that's faulty. And when we say narrow-minded, we don't mean the iron fist, this, that and the other. Alright? Narrow-minded just simply means getting rid of the rubbish that comes at us in this world. The world says believe this and believe that. No. And it says so from a point of being broad-minded, open-minded. Alright, we say no. We look upon things, we judge of things, examine all things to see if they be of God, and we ask for evidence. Evidence, and I cannot stop on this point. Evidence, 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 evidence. And where there is no clear evidence, we hold back. We do not prejudge. We do not assume. We hold back until evidence comes. There are many things in this world that we don't understand. If we reject them out of hand, what happens? Well, for one, we're rejecting light. Because it's there for some reason. It's there for some reason, and we should struggle with it. Lay it to one side, maybe come back to struggle with it. We'll get to the bottom of this. Oh yes, we'll get to the bottom of this, we should say. And if we don't, fair enough, we just lay it to one side. The problem with people today is that they come across these problems and there's a problem with them and they chuck it. And the more people throw away the problems of trying to understand things, the more ignorant they become, and ignorance is the way of darkness. Ignorance and darkness walk hand in hand. And a lot of the time, that is the wrong narrow-mindedness of people. It is the wrong narrow-mindedness of people. For some people. Others are just outlandish. But there are those who are so narrow-minded because they've rejected the principle that you examine all things. You don't just knee-jerk and chuck it. You know, we would have no engineers, we'd have no doctors, we'd have no scientists if everybody said, oh, can't be bothered. Can't be bothered with this. But they push ahead and push ahead. And that's what we should do as Christians. We should be the leaders of pressing forward toward the mark of our high calling in Christ Jesus. And if we have got a calling, of which we have, for our lives, not just the effectual calling of God unto salvation, being the children of God as we were in eternity, but a calling in our natural lives. Okay, got a calling as a doctor, got a calling as a housemaid, calling as a street sweeper, calling as an engineer, calling as what? Shop assistant? What are you fitted for? What do you desire and fitted for? Because remember, once we start to take in ourselves and to check ourselves and to reason with ourselves, what is it that I am towards? Is my ability, my desire towards being a physician, I feel drawn that way. In other words, a vocation. And you go into it and you struggle with the words, the terms, the setup, everything. It's all new. New words. Oh, am I going to get used? I can't deal with this. But you press on and press on and press on. And the concepts and all the terms and how things work becomes, after a time, natural. Now, there are those in positions that shouldn't be in positions because they're simply academic. They've gone along, and generally easier for them, for the most part. And they end up like Dr. Death Howell Shipman. Anyhow, what we're going to deal with today is the eschatological concept of the rapture. Yeah! Open the curtains, bring the Arminians on the stage. Hey? Now then, the rapture. We have to go back to Edward Irving, that Scottish minister in London, and John Nelson Darby, the two significant miscreants of hell. Right. Both of them nominal Christians. That's how they started. And that's how they would remain, nominal Christians. They'd not gone over to the excited side of nominal Christian in their time, which again is neo-evangelicalism, sleeping up and down and everything else that goes with it. Now then, Edward Irving, the Irvingites, okay, what a mixed bunch they were. One day, came across a book called, what was that? The Coming of Messiah in Great Glory and Majesty. Okay, the Coming of Messiah in Great Glory and Majesty. Note the words, Messiah. Well, the Messiah has come. It should read, the coming of Jesus Christ. You see, the devil's people, the devil himself, very subtle. Very subtle with words. It's denying that Christ came in the flesh. Again, it should read, the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, or Jesus Christ, in great glory and majesty. Now, this work, this book, The Coming of Messiah in Great Glory and Majesty, was written by a Jesuit. The Jesuits at the time had been sidelined, ostracized by the Church of Rome. The author of this book, The Coming of Messiah in Great Glory and Majesty, was one Emmanuel Lecunza. Now, there were other Jesuits who had written about the end times, and he copied them and added his own bits and pieces and presented it to Romanism, to the Pope, to try and get back in the good books. Okay? And it included in this the rapture. Now, here comes the cunning parts. Okay? I don't know if they got favour with Rome, but eventually they did, of course, the Jesuits, the army of Rome. But when Emmanuel Lecunza, who had copied the likes of Ribera, okay, and the rest, wrote his book, he went under the pseudonym of Rabbi Ben Ezra to fool the Protestants. Because he knew that the term, his name, Emmanuel Lecunza, smelt of Romanism. That wouldn't be accepted. So he took on the title name of Ben Rabbi, you see, making himself out to be Jewish. Rabbi Ben Ezra. So there's the first lie from hell. The con, the deceit. Okay? Now, it was written in the Spanish because Emmanuel Lecunza, as the name is, Spanish, Roman. Okay? Anything that comes from Spain is Romish. Okay? Now then, it was written in the Spanish, and Edward Irving, whose ill-gotten gains from his congregation, had it translated into the English. And he made tracts from this, took portions of it. And he made these tracts, and he sent them out like flyers. I mean, this was a work of a Romanist. And Edward Irving was supposed to be an evangelical. He knew what he was doing. He actually knew that Rabbi Ben Ezra was a Romanist. And that Emmanuel Lecunza had broken the law by lying, deceiving, deception. Shouldn't have touched him. But it's a cage of all unclean spirits and birds, isn't it? Birds of a feather flock together. The household of the damned. And he did this. Now, whilst this is going on, there's a chap called John Nelson Darby, who did not, by the way, create the Brethren movement. That's a pack of lies. The Brethren movement was already in existence and he joined it. And he was the blackguard that split it. It wasn't a Christian movement, but he split it. Split the movement. It was a very, very arrogant, nasty piece of work. Was John Nelson Darby. And as two-faced as the Albert clock. I mean, he stood up, for instance, and said, Arminianism is not Christianity. Election is Christianity. Oh, how did you get in, John Nelson Darby, into Christianity? I chose to join. Says it all. Because he did. He joined. It wasn't an act of God. It was an act of man. Him. Huh? It's not a works, lest any man should boast. He did a work. Having done the work, he carried on in the office of a solicitor, and then one day he decided, there's a great big movement out there for this new movement that's going on. I want to join it. I want to be the head of it. There's a man over here and there's a woman over here being the head of this and this and this. It was all going on in the 1800s. It was going on. The devil had been let loose for a season. Oof. And his influence, when he was reined back in, his influence carried on to this very day. To this very day. He turned the world upside down. In those days, people wanted death rather than life. What a dark, satanic world that was. There was certain light that came through, as it were, benefits to mankind. That is natural. That is natural in the setup of things as it is. You've always got this spark of light. Because the devil can't have his own way. All his own way. Darkness will never have all of its way. It's so far, and that's it. Christ pulls in the reins and the chains that bind darkness, the spirits of darkness. Now, John Nelson Darby, Nelson, of course, being after Lord Nelson. His father, you see, John Nelson Darby's father, said in commemoration of Trafalgar that he would name his son Nelson Darby. Anyhow, he left his solicitor's office, and I won't go into the life of it because it's a long, laborious story, but he eventually joins the Brethren movement, and he splits the Brethren movement into two: the open Brethren movement and the closed Brethren movement. And he was the one that formed the